Well, today I'm looking at a car that's got a lot of enthusiasts very excited. This is the Ford Focus RS, a car that's made in Germany, has a larger engine, all-wheel drive, and go-fast looks. But let's get the 800-pound gorilla out of the room right away. The price on this thing, $48,000 in Canada, $100 excise tax, $1,000 if you want this blue. It's called nitrous blue quad coat. And it really does look fantastic. I gotta tell you, it has been absolutely pouring all this week. This is the first dry day we've had to actually shoot. And this color doesn't show the dirt that much, which is good. Okay, back to the price. So that's $1,100 in options. Then you have $1,600 in freight and delivery, brings the price to $50,664, okay? So just keep that in mind. That's before tax, by the way, for this car. A lot of money. And when we get to the end, we'll see what it compares against. You're probably going to guess right away, Golf R, WRX, STI. We'll talk about that at the end. This car looks pretty great though. It's got a nice big chin spoiler that I've been driving this for a week. I've been going over speed bumps, up and down ramps, and have had no problems with it. It clears absolutely no problem at all. Lots more air coming in the front. It's more aerodynamic with the new front grille as well. You notice these beautiful 19-inch wheels. It's got the massive shopping cart handle around the back. That's not to my taste. If I was 20 years younger, I'd probably love it. You see the air diffuser around the bottom of the car, and the two cans sticking out the bottom makes it look definitely aggressive. So this car looks aggressive, and anybody that wants this car wants it to look aggressive. Inside, not too many changes. Really, it's all about the way this car drives, and that's what you're paying for. More on that in a second. Quick look on the inside first. In my opinion, I don't think Ford tried that hard on the inside of this RS. You get the heavily bolstered Recaro seats, but you also get those in the ST. They look exactly the same to me, and they're heavily bolstered, and the same complaint I had with those seats I have with these. You see your knees are quite high and your hips are quite low. Now that's very sporty with the big bolsters initially, but if you're driving a lot, it's really not that great. You can't really stretch your legs out, and you can adjust the seat up and down, but not the position of the bottom of the seat, which I find really quite limiting. You do get an RS steering wheel that's basically flat on the bottom, only comes with a manual transmission. You get the gauges on the top of the dash. You also get that with the ST. But it looks pretty much the same as every Ford Focus. The good news is all Focus now come with the Sync 3 system, which is much better. But other than that, really not that much to distinguish this from other Ford Focus products. It's under the hood and the way it drives that makes it different. All right, before we get going, I don't have access to a track with this car. I would have loved to have gone to the track when they launched this car, but that's not the case. So I'm gonna have to talk about this car in terms of what it's like to drive every single day. Now, the first thing you have to note is there are drive modes. And you know what? Say with the Golf R, you get the same kind of thing. You have what's called dynamic chassis control with Volkswagen. This one has sport, it has track, and it has drift mode. Now, as I mentioned, I don't have access to a track, so I'm not gonna try and do something silly on public streets. What I can tell you though, is that I have enjoyed driving it in the sport mode the most, and this car is a lot of fun to drive. What you need to remember though, is that the power doesn't really come on until about 3,200 RPM. That's when the turbo really starts to kick in. Until that point, it can feel a little bit lackluster actually at low RPMs. Now this is the kind of car, when you have it in the mid-range torque, it is an absolute blast to drive. And the ratio of the steering is very quick. Now one thing that Ford has done well with their Focus and a lot of their small cars is their electric power steering is excellent. And they have a much tighter ratio with this car, and it also has these huge Michelin tires on each corner that are basically like a racing slick. So it's a car that absolutely grips the road. The brakes are fantastic with the Brembros, and it all comes together to make a wonderful handling car. Now, the one thing about the all-wheel drive system, Ford has a torque vectoring system that allows the power to go to the rear wheels, 50% of the available torque. And that allows the car to step out and oversteer, or the back end to go around when you're driving at high speeds. Now, that's something that's a lot of fun on the track, and you can utilize it on the street as well. It's to give you that ability to drift the car and to have it step out. Typically, front-wheel drive cars push through corners. This one has more of a rear-wheel drive characteristic when pushed hard. But it's a car that is not that forgiving to drive in everyday situations. The tires grab the ruts in the road quite easily. The clutch point is quite sharp, and when you first drive this car, you can stall it quite quickly. It takes a little while to get used to, but it's the kind of car that has a lot of character. It's got a lot of fun, and the more you drive it, the more you come to appreciate what they've done here. So it's not going to get tiring. Now, it's a very different car than the Golf R. The Golf R is a much more polished, sophisticated Audi feeling car. And this one, I think, really closely resembles the STI from Subaru. That's a car that's edgy, is always on, and so is this. It's a car that reminds you that you're driving something special. After a while with the Golf R, it doesn't. It's a wonderful car to drive every day, where this car is an edgy car to drive every day. And out of the gate, the acceleration doesn't kick you in the backside the way you would kind of hope. You would think that it would have a lot more bottom end grunt. It's the mid-range torque that's really rewarding. It is so much fun to get up and onto the boost and have some fun. This is a car you'd want to take to the racetrack. But I guarantee you, anybody that's going to be taking a car to the racetrack and having some fun is going to have a heavily modified it's going to have a heavily modified car and not buy one like this right out of the box. Now, this car is definitely getting a lot of attention and a lot of comparables. A lot of people are comparing it to the Golf R because it's got the hatchback, it's all-wheel drive, it has just around 300 horsepower, but loaded is $42,000. That's a full $6,000 less than this car. Then you get into the WRX and the STI. The STI starts at $38,000 in Canada. That's fully $10,000 less than this car, and fully equipped the STI is $45,000, still cheaper. Doesn't have a hatchback, it has a trunk, but it also has the big shopping cart handle around the back and the go fast looks. Now, Subaru is coming out with a new Impreza, and the new WRX and STI will be based on that new lighter platform, so that's one to watch. This car is really sticking its head out at right around $50,000. Personally, for me, I'd buy a Mustang GT and save a bunch of money compared to this car, and you have 400 plus horsepower. But it's a different car. This is a hot hatch, that isn't, and this definitely is something different. It really has a lot of character. That's the way I would describe it. It's not a car you're going to get tired of quickly. It certainly has character. It takes a while to learn where the power is, and you actually, the more you drive it, the more fun it becomes. For this kind of money, you could actually start shopping for an Audi S3. It really is different, and I think that's what Ford is hoping that'll get people excited, driving something unique. Thanks for watching, and it really does help if you can subscribe. If you'd like to watch the Golf R video, make sure to click on the picture.